Michelle Prince, founder and CEO of Performance Publishing Group, making a difference one story at a time. We'll be shining the light on successful founders, entrepreneurs, business owners, and leaders that are getting results and making a difference. We'll talk about how they built their businesses, are creating movements, and leveraging the power of authority in their own lives. Be sure to stick around to the end of the show, and we'll reveal how you can be our next guest. Let's get started. Hey everybody, it's Michelle Prince, host of the Power of Authority Spotlight, where we shine the light on successful founders, entrepreneurs, and people that are just doing incredible things and making an impact in the world. Cannot wait for you to meet my guest today because he is making an enormous impact in the world. But first, a message from our sponsor. This episode is brought to you by Performance Publishing Group. Performance Publishing Group provides top quality, comprehensive book publishing services for soon-to-be authors. The Performance Publishing team has helped thousands of people realize their dream of becoming an author. Will you be next? I know our guest today is a big believer of writing books as well. We'll talk about that. As a partner publisher, Performance Publishing Group can offer you more than just expert guidance. They want to make sure you get the book of your dreams and you reap the rewards. For more information, go to performancepublishinggroup.com. Let me introduce you to Lieutenant Colonel Dan Rooney. He is a force for good, a decorated F-16 fighter pilot. He is best known for his founding of the Folds of Honor, a leading nonprofit organization that provides educational scholarships for children and spouses of fallen or disabled military service members and first responders. Since its inception in 2007, the foundation has provided nearly 44,000 life-changing scholarships, totaling approximately $200 million. That's amazing. Rooney's life calling of inspiring people to help people is made obvious by his variety of roles. A USA Today bestselling author whose titles include A Patriot's Calling and Fly into the Wind, he is a highly sought-after motivational speaker that has addressed over 1,000 corporations and groups across America. As a Class A member of the PGA, he founded two nationally ranked golf clubs, the Patriot Golf Club in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and American Dunes Golf Club in Grand Haven, Michigan, in collaboration with Jack Nicklaus. He is a frequent guest of national media, including podcasts, radio, and network television, such as, easy for me to say, Fox News. Rooney has been recognized as one of People Magazine's Heroes of the Year, Money Magazine's Hero of the Year, and ABC World News Tonight's Person of the Year. Lieutenant Colonel Rooney has continued his military service after 3 combat tours to Iraq, where he flew the F-16 Viper. He is currently stationed at Headquarters Air Force Recruiting Service Detachment 1 at Joint Base San Antonio Randolph in Texas, where he's been given the unique position to act as a U.S. Air Force ambassador with the task of inspiring the next generation of service members to give the same devotion to the country he has so proudly demonstrated through his career. Rooney is a 2-time recipient of the Top Gun Award and has received the Air Force Commendation Medal, Air Medal, Anti-Terrorism Medal, Combat Readiness Medal, and Air Expeditionary Medal. My goodness, that's a lot of medals. I'm impressed. For his service and patriotism, he was presented the White House's Presidential Volunteer Service Award by President George W. Bush, as well as the Air National Guard's Distinguished Service Medal and the Director's Service Award and the Ellis Island Medal of Honor. Lieutenant Colonel Rooney lives in Owasso, Oklahoma, where his most important role lies with his wife and 5 daughters. Oh my goodness. Welcome, 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 Lieutenant Colonel Rooney.
I'm really tired after that, Michelle. That was very nice, but not necessary. I'll tell you, when we start out, I love to sit down. I don't ever, play down what someone has achieved, but I love to sit down, have a cup of coffee, and hear what you've overcome. So thanks for that great introduction. What you don't see in all that is, all the headwinds, all the challenges, all the moments that, all of us are defined every day by what we do when it doesn't go our way. Yeah. And that's what I hate about bios, right? And in social media and all of that stuff, right? It's just about, hey, man, these are our winning moments. But, all of those winning moments are a result of what you're doing when nobody sees you in your darkest moments as you battle through. And, we highlight those achievements. I think the world, your bio should be like, this is all the stuff that happened to this person, and they're still in the fight. And there's not enough paper for that in my life, but I'm glad to be with you. And thanks for the great introduction.
Of course. And, I feel the exact same way. Whenever I speak or do a podcast, I feel the same way about my bio. I'm like, oh, come on. Let's just get to the normal. I'm just like you. But, maybe you've done a couple things here and there. But I did choose to read your full bio because I want people to know all the things that you're doing. Because, not only are you, obviously your career speaks for itself, but you've chosen to go a path to help people, to serve people. And I really wanted to highlight that and shine that because, there's just so much more to you. And I'm excited to have you on the show.
Thanks. Me too.
All right. So let's dive in because we have a lot to talk about. So Folds of Honor is something that I have heard of for many, many years. It's an incredible nonprofit that is doing amazing things to help families. And I want to start there because I want you to give us a little bit more background on what that is and how you're serving people with that.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the Bible, Michelle, the greatest frequency in call is to care for widows and orphans. Actually, 87 times we hear that in the Bible. And, as I started, I didn't realize, above my garage from nothing, my wife and I started Folds of Honor, and, we don't have wealth or influence or anything like that. And that's when you know that this has been God's mission all along. But over the 15 years, it becomes clearer every day that, man, this is just a ministry, right? And churches come in all different shapes and sizes, right? And this is just an awesome church where our mission is taking care of widows and orphans. And as you mentioned, military spouses and kids, first responder spouses and kids who've had somebody killed or disabled, out there making sure that we live safe in this country. And it has just been such a blessing. And I watched the Holy Spirit specifically connect this with people. And you mentioned, I mean, we're based in Owasso, Oklahoma. We don't look like a lot of other charities that are in New York and Washington, D.C. and have big fancy offices. We're a bunch of military guys and several Gold Star spouses and kids who have come together to make sure that people realize that freedom isn't free, and have just been so blessed. And I always say this too, because, we ask people to give a donation to Folds, especially around the holidays, as we head in there, that 91 cents of every dollar we raise goes directly to fund scholarships. So
Wow.
we're actually in the top 1% of nonprofits in America. And we're doing it the right way, getting it to these families. And we talked before we started, we had over 9,000 families this fall. We sent to school about $45 million out the door, biggest class ever. And, we don't advertise, right? It's just one person to another that cares enough to take 5 minutes to share foldsofhonor.org with their family and friends. Say, hey, man, I heard this guy, Colonel Dan, on the podcast, and this seems like a really good way to say thank you for our freedoms. And so it's been a tremendous blessing for the families that we serve. But I would argue, I know for myself, the person I have become because God put me on this walk versus when I started 15 years ago. And on that same spirit, the people that become involved with Folds of Honor, we've got a huge Dallas chapter, by the way. I think most people wake up every day and they're like, man, I'd like to do good. But we often don't know where to start.
Yes.
And Folds of Honor is that vessel which, so many people are climbing on all the time to start. And there's this term, and I love it. I'm a kind of a weird religious guy, right? I'm Catholic, but I think I'm part Buddhist as well, because I just think there's so many great lessons in those Eastern philosophies. And there's a term called Dharma. So when you're in Dharma, it means you combine your passion, your aptitude, and you make an impact. Wow. And there's no direct correlation in Christianity, which is so silly, right? But I mean, that's the highest evolution of humanity, is like when you're passionate about something, you have an aptitude and it makes an impact. And that third one is what is missing from so many people's lives. And they're like, man, I just wish I felt more fulfilled and more energized. And this Folds mission, I mean, it is living in Dharma for me. It's my passion. I've got an aptitude for it. And obviously it makes a tremendous impact on the scholarship recipients' lives, but on my life, everybody's life that gets involved with it. So we love it. So check it out, foldsofhonor.org. Make a donation, become part of our squadron. We'd love to have you, and we need it.
Awesome. Okay, so let's switch gears a little bit. I want to talk about resilience because I know that's something that you love to talk about, and specifically in your book, you talk a lot about it, Fly into the Wind. So, what exactly does resilience mean to you?
Well, I think it's the most important skill that any of us possess, because the common denominator of all humanity is you will face struggle, challenge, you will sail through multiple storms in your life. And I like to say, ultimately, we're defined by what we do when it doesn't go our way. And I think you look at successful people, their greatest gift is resilience. And for me, I had a huge life storm. I start out, almost killed myself in an F-16. Talk about that and Fly into the Wind. And it just kind of lit off. Literally, it was like a decade long just beat down. Kind of everything was coming apart in my life. And when you realize that you can't navigate your way out of it in an expeditious manner, you kind of sit back and we're like, okay, God, well, what's the plan here? I know this is in my life for some reason. It sucks. I don't understand what it is. And for me, I came up with what my code of living I call CAVU, ceiling invisibility unlimited. And I just term it, man, live unlimited. Every day is an unlimited gift. And I think we're so quick to judge what's good or bad or success or failure. And it just is. And the thing I know for certain is that, like, every moment, every experience in our lives is divinely appointed. And so when you can take stock in that and just take a deep breath and be like, hey, this is here for a reason. And for me, those 10 years, I have no doubt, were just, giving me this massive dose of humility and breaking me down to, my first prayer every day now, which is just, let me be an open vessel. Let me go live life for you, not for myself. And it's interesting. I really think you have to lose yourself in order to find your way.
Oh, so
And we get so caught up in this world with, what's in it for me and how do I look and what do I wear and what's my social media look like. And this amazing irony is that as you give away of yourself, the more you become congruent with who God wants you to be. And we all know, ego is like the most dangerous thing on planet Earth, right? It causes wars, it causes marriages and families to come apart. And the reduction of ego for me is like a daily goal. And I was fortunate. I would never want to go live those 10 years over again. But looking back, I understand it was just extinguishing my ego, which was the greatest barrier between me using my talents to glorify God, not myself. Yeah. And so back to this concept of flying into the wind, where we fly the most powerful airplane in the world, one of them, the F-16, but we still take off into the wind because we need resistance to ascend. And the reason that title is that way is because I'm convinced that's the way our lives are. And people have it totally upside down. You think, oh man, why is this happening to me? This is such a struggle. This is such a challenge. I will tell you for certain, those moments aren't God keeping you down, but actually raising you up. And this concept of CAVU for me, there are 10 things, lines of effort, LOEs, I call them because I'm a military guy, but basically 10 things I do every day without fail that are congruent to the person I know I am in my heart, the person I am striving to be. And it's a routine, it's living by a code. And so often people are like, man, I just don't have time. I don't have time to do that. My life is just out of control. Well, that's your choice. Letting your life drive you out of control. And I would say the only way to make your life longer is to get up earlier in the morning. So guaranteed. And no one messes with you pretty much in your life between 5:30 and 7:30 every day.
It's so
it is a sanctuary of space to accomplish those things that feed you being the best version of yourself. And this is a long-winded answer, but I'm going to give you this as we head into the new year, because people make New Year's resolutions and they're always like, man, I'm so motivated. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. You can throw motivation in the trash can, because your New Year's resolution, if you're like most people, lasts 2 or 3 weeks, right? If you're lucky, because motivation is an emotion. You cannot rely on motivation for anything in your life. And it goes back to my loop that I work every single day is, I call it the enthusiasm, or it's my CAVU loop, but it starts with enthusiasm at the top. If you can hold on to that word for a second.
Okay.
Two words combine that word, Greek origin, in theos, which is in God. Everything has got to start in God in your life. And is there any better emotion than being enthusiastic?
Yeah.
That is it. Like, that is the drug. Name one thing better than being enthusiastic about where you're going, the person you're with, your family, whatever it is, because it's in God, right? So it starts in theos. Enthusiasm makes a right-hand turn to routine. Routine is what Flying into the Wind is all about. It's creating an unnegotiable routine in your life that you will execute every day. And routines are so important. I equate it to, like, if you're going to build a house, you got to frame the house first, or you can't build a house on top of it. Your routine is the framing on a house. You create your own routine. You sit down and spend the time, write it down. I think you're like 42% more likely to do something if you write it down. You got to write it down. My routine for the day. And then routine actually leads to discipline. Discipline leads to motivation, and then motivation circles back to enthusiasm. So people have it all wrong, man. You're never going to be motivated. I'm not motivated to get up at 5:30 in the morning. It hurts, yes, right? But I do it, and I trick myself, because what I allow myself to do in my routine, the first thing is I make a cup of coffee and I get in the Bible. So I have something I'm looking forward to getting out of bed at 5:30 in the morning. People may be stronger than me and can get up at 5:30 and go straight into the gym. That would never last for me, because it's like, oh my gosh, this is so hard. I'm just going to roll over and stay in bed. Give yourself something you love to do when you first get out of bed. That is the key to getting up early and harnessing those 2 hours of just godly, awesome time to do deep work on yourself every day. And the last thing I'm going to say on this, because I've given you a fire hose of an answer, you can tell how passionate I am, because I've cracked the code on life. It's all about your routine. That is it. And your routine becomes a habit. And habits are things you do without thinking of them. There's a lot of science behind habit that I have studied ad nauseum. We won't get into that today. But it's just so important that you wake up every day with a plan and you know where you're going, and it turns into autopilot. And I promise you, Michelle, you and I are going to wake up 10 years from now and be like, oh my gosh, where did that space go? Right. What happened to 10 years? But I will be able to tell you exactly what happened with those 10 years, because I do the same thing 6.5, if not 7 days a week. And it's not hard. Wow. It's just about being intentional in creating your routine. And that allows you to become disciplined, motivated, but ultimately live a life of enthusiasm in God every day.
Oh my gosh. Wow. First of all, there's so much to unpack here, and I'm loving everything you're saying. And well, let me start with this. So enthusiasm, I'm actually just about to launch my next book, and I have a section in there about enthusiasm, because I remember when I was 18 years old, it's when my parents made me go to the Zig Ziglar conference, and I went unwillingly. Somebody at the conference was talking about the meaning of enthusiasm, and they same thing, but their word was God within, meaning like you're in God, God's in you, that kind of thing. And I was 18. I remember holding on to that so strongly, and it just made total sense. And so when I'm enthusiastic, I'm literally shining God, from within, and it just changes the dynamic of everything that you do. So I love that you started with enthusiasm, and you kind of released me from, there's no guilt at all, but I'm like you. When I wake up, I'm not ready to do a whole lot other than I want to get in the Word and I want to journal. That's it. And sometimes I feel guilty, because I'm like, I should probably be exercising. I should probably be doing something else. Because I could stay there a really, really, really long time.
Yeah. And the key, right, is putting limits on yourself, though. So I'm there exactly 24 minutes.
Okay. So can we talk about that routine? Because you said there's 10 things you do every day, and you may not want to share all of them, but are there any you are willing to share?
Yeah, some of them are philosophical, but like just the block and tackle of my daily routine is, 5:30. But like everything's accountable. Like, an accountability is a skill that we all have and should be sharpening every day, right? So I'm gonna get up at 5:30
Okay.
and it hurts, right? I'm gonna have a cup of coffee, brush my teeth, do all that stuff. And like my steps are the same. I'm like, and so as a fighter pilot, I'll give you a little secret. So we are indoctrinated and we become learned effective. So I'm at night over Iraq in my F-16. Somebody is shooting at me. People are dying on the ground. There is crazy emotional stimulus banging all over me. My routine is so disciplined that when it's time for me to go kinetic, Michelle, that means drop a bomb in the name of God and country, deliver the president's mail, often in very close proximity to good guys. So if I mess up, not only could I not kill the bad guys, I could kill somebody on our team, right? Thank God I've never missed.
Wow.
And one of the reasons I've never missed is because our routine is so drilled in and programmed that it's like I flip a mental switch. And you look at the guys like Michael Phelps, he'll tell you the same thing, right? I know exactly what I am going to do. Therefore, it requires very little motivation or emotional commitment, all the stuff that weighs us down. And to your point, wants to make you stay in bed or not go to the gym or whatever it is, right? So like my routine is so crazy. Like I know the steps. I take the same step pattern every morning when I get up. I get up, walk in there, have a sleep, go to the bathroom, hit start on my coffee, which is already prepped for the day, right? I prepped it the night before because I'm getting ready to win tomorrow. So all I have to do is hit the button. And then I give myself, it's about 24 minutes, depending on, when I get on the couch and I'm in the Bible and one cup of coffee. But then I'm in my workout.
Okay.
Right. You have
go straight
to
from there. Yep. Okay.
define these moments in your routine. So then I do my workout. And then when I'm home, I travel a lot, but when I'm home, non-negotiable, I take all my girls to school, right? It's in my schedule, stuff that matters most when I'm home, investing in my family, take my girls to school, come back, and shower up, and I go to work from 9 to noon. Noon, I drink the same thing every day, Kachava. You can look it up. It's called Kachava. It is unbelievable. It's a vegan whole food substitute. These guys should have me on retainer. I've got so many people on that subscription. It is human jet fuel. I have a Kachava, and that takes me about 15 minutes, and I give myself 45 minutes of it's a meditation time, and it's a stretching time to break my day up. So you're not swimming in quicksand like all day long. I have little moments to look forward to. And I'm back in the fight at 1300. And, I'll pick my kids up at 3 and 3:30, and then back in the fight from like 4:15 to 1700, and then I knock it off. And if I've got stuff to clean up, I do. But I'll tell you one of the beautiful things about a routine is that it gives you beginning and ends, which so many people struggle with, and that's how they get burned out. And it allows you to be successful every day. And I look at it and I check it off that I live my routine today. Boom. And I'm like, yes, I did it today. But it also gives you permission to stop. Right? I'm going to make myself work, but I'm not going to let myself continue working and grinding till I'm in quicksand. And if you don't have a routine, I use this analogy. It's like you're swimming in quicksand. Like I'm going as hard as I can, but I'm not getting anywhere because I've never defined what there is. Exactly. I've never defined stop, start. They're the most life-changing things, and every successful person, more important, every significant person I've ever met has an amazing routine.
That's so true.
And because it allows you to win the day. And when this week is over, which it almost is, I'll be able to look back and be like, hey man, I won the week. Because let's face it, most of the stuff we do isn't that important. We all get pulled a lot of different ways, but you need to be feeding your mind, your body, your spirit every single day without fail to become the best version of yourself.
Oh, wow.
And that's what Fly Into the Wind is at its core about, and that we're all perfectly broken. I get comments on the book. It's in its third print from HarperCollins in 18 months.
Congrats.
It's everywhere, right? And I'm a nobody, right? The book is going everywhere because it is changing people's lives And I start, the first chapter is just about what a complete train wreck, the storm I was in my life. But out of that storm, all of these tactics that I teach, that I learned in my storm, that changes every day for the rest of your life. And
So
it
that was
was the
going to
greatest
be,
blessing.
that was going to actually be my next question, because, it's so impressive to have all of these routines, but and I think your military background, of course, has maybe played a part of that. But was there ever a point in your life when you weren't this disciplined or not
Oh my gosh, yeah.
motivated? Okay.
It's a skill that's learned. I
Yeah.
think inherently, I probably had a little bit in me. I'm a type A personality. But no, it's a skill it's totally learned. And there's no doubt. I mean, the gift of me being an F-16 fighter pilot and all the skills that I learned there that apply to life, which I share in the book, Fly into the Wind. I mean, it's the most sophisticated training in the world that we get to peak perform when it matters in the most stressful environments in the world. And I share a bunch of that stuff in my book. But the beauty of this is these are all learned skills, right? You can learn to have a routine, you can learn to lead, and motivation, back to that word, that's a system.
Ooh, yeah.
And God gave me the keys to that castle to figure out the circle of motivation and significance in life, which I believe is because my calling of Folds of Honor, helping widows and orphans, 44,000 to date. We're helping about 10,000 people a year go get an education, teaching them how to fish. But I think that's why God gave that to me, because he was like, hey, you're going to be the mission commander. I'm going to bless you with these things so you can go out and do my work. And I now, on my other side of my life, get to go teach people these gifts that I have been given. And it truly is, Michelle, that is a calling from God in my life that I feel so compelled to pay it forward. Why I was this blessed and fortunate, I can, guess. But I am, and God has bestowed on me some incredibly tactical stuff that can change anybody's life.
Yes. Wow. Well, definitely the book has everyone listening have to get the book, Fly into the Wind. And I'm thinking about your what's next, other than there being a fourth publishing of that book. What's next? Do you think it's another book? Do you think it's more with Folds of Honor? Do you think there's something totally new that God has planned for you?
No, I know God hasn't, and I figured out I'm a contrarian. People are like, what are your goals for the year? I don't set goals. And I set some objectives like, hey, these are important things for the year. I have learned that God is so much bigger than us. How dare I shrink down what is possible by saying, hey, these are my goals.
That's so
My singular goal every day is to execute my routine, which starts with the very first prayer of, let me just be an open vessel and fill me with enthusiasm, point me the right direction, and turn me loose.
and unlimited.
It takes a long time to get there. And I would say this, I fail at that every day, but I can tell you from the deepest place in my soul, and it took me probably 45 years to get to this place, that is my true desire.
Yeah. Wow. Well, and God only uses the broken. Think about it. We're all broken. We all have the ability to be these open vessels. It's just, we have to be in partnership with God and be willing. And that's what you're doing every day. And it's so inspiring. It's beyond what you're doing with the Folds of Honor, the book, everything else. It's just, you're such an inspiration. So thank you so much for being on the show.
Yeah, thank you for having me. And people can learn more at foldsofhonor.org if they want to join that mission. And you can grab Fly into the Wind any place they sell books. And I'm just so humbled that God is using me to make an impact, and prayerful that we get to keep doing it together. So
absolutely. I have a feeling you're going to get that prayer answered.
Yeah. Thanks for letting me share today, Michelle. God bless you, and praying for a great 2023.
Thank you so much. Thank you. You too. All right, everybody, that's it for the Power of Authority Spotlight. Go ahead, grab Dan's book, Fly into the Wind, and grab hold of his code that he lives by and live unlimited. Start with enthusiasm, build a routine, then that turns into discipline, motivation to do it all over again. Go make a difference, everyone. Thanks so much. Thanks so much for listening to the Power of Authority Spotlight. If you are a successful founder, entrepreneur, business owner, or leader that's getting results and making a difference, and you'd like to be on this program, please visit performancepublishinggroup.com/podcast to apply. That's performancepublishinggroup.com/podcast. Also, if you got something out of this interview, please share this episode. Just do a quick screenshot with your phone and text it to a friend or post it on the socials. If you know someone that would be a great guest, tag them on social media to let them know about the show and include the hashtag #ThePowerOfAuthoritySpotlight. I love seeing your posts and guest suggestions. We are regularly putting out new episodes and content, so make sure you don't miss any episodes by subscribing. Your thumbs up, ratings, and reviews go a long way to help promote the show and mean a lot to me and my team. Want to know more? Go to our websites, performancepublishinggroup.com or michelleprince.com, and follow me on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram. Thanks so much for listening, and we'll see you next time.